Okay, let's dive into this. For years, when we thought about plastic pollution, we usually pictured those massive ocean garbage patches, right? Tangled sea turtles, or just litter washing up on some remote beach somewhere. It was basically an environmental issue, a problem out there. But today, in this explainer, we're looking at a pretty radical shift in the science. We are tracking the transformation of plastic from an external environmental issue to a very internal human biology problem. I want you to consider a question for a second. Is there plastic flowing through your veins right now? I mean, it sounds completely made up like the plot of a sci-fi movie, but this is the stark medical mystery we're unpacking today. Because this isn't just about what's in our oceans anymore. It is about what is, quite literally, inside of us.
So here is our roadmap for the explainer. First, the revelation. Second, the culprit. Third, inside the human body. Fourth, what science doesn't know. And finally, reducing your daily exposure.
All right, part one, the revelation, a landmark discovery.
Back in 2022, a genuinely landmark study was published in the journal Environment International. And for the very first time, researchers actually detected microplastic particles inside human blood samples. And this brilliantly illustrates the core issue when you look at the specific plastic polymers they found. Things like polyethylene, which is what your standard grocery bags are made of, and polystyrene, heavily used in packaging. These particles were small enough to have successfully slipped right past the body's strict biological barriers. This terrifying new reality proved that microplastics aren't just things we occasionally ingest and pass right through. No, they are internal systemic contaminants actively circulating in our bloodstreams.
Moving right along to section 2, the culprit. What exactly are microplastics?
Broadly speaking, microplastics are any plastic particles smaller than 5 millimeters, but they really fall into two main categories. First, you have primary microplastics. These are intentionally manufactured to be tiny from the get-go. Think of the little microbeads in an exfoliating face wash, or raw industrial pellets. Then we have secondary microplastics. Now, this is the big one. You see, plastics are engineered to be incredibly durable, right? They don't just magically biodegrade. Instead, out in the environments under sunlight, heat, and friction, larger items like water bottles or synthetic clothes just shatter. They degrade down into smaller and smaller fragments over decades.
And what's really fascinating here is the sheer scale of nanoplastics. These are fragments typically less than 1 micrometer in size. To put that into perspective for you, a single strand of human hair is roughly 70 micrometers thick. So these nanoplastics are unbelievably minuscule, and they possess this unique, frankly insidious ability. Their incredibly small size is exactly what allows them to slip past the biological checkpoints of the human body. So how do they even get to those checkpoints? Well, the exposure pathways are, unfortunately, totally embedded in our daily routines. First up is ingestion. That bottled water sitting on your desk, the seafood on your plate, even the table salt you sprinkle on your dinner, they all carry microplastic residues. Second is inhalation. I mean, just look at a sunbeam in your living room. That floating indoor dust, it likely contains synthetic fibers off-gassing directly from your carpet or your couch. And third is dermal and indirect exposure, like getting into wounds or through certain medical devices. Honestly, you eat them, you drink them, and you breathe them in every single day.
Section 3. Inside the human body. Let's move to and see how this builds, tracking the actual invasion.
Once a nanoplastic bypasses those biological barriers in your gut lining or deep inside your lung tissue, the science gets a little chilling. The proposed cellular transport mechanism is something called endocytosis. Essentially, because these plastic fragments are so incredibly small, human cells might actually just engulf them, mistaking them for natural nutrients or cellular debris. In fact, these nanoplastics penetrate our cells behaving in the exact same way that highly targeted nanoplastic medical drugs do, except instead of delivering life-saving medicine, they're delivering plastic. Basically, the worst delivery service ever. And science is tracking exactly where these plastics end up, because beyond just the blood, researchers have now identified microplastics embedded in major human tissues. They are in the lungs, totally confirming that inhalation exposure we just talked about. They are in the placenta, which raises some seriously measurable concerns about fetal exposure before a baby even takes its very first breath. They've been found in the liver and metabolic organs, and of course, in stool samples. All of this strongly suggests that these particles don't just passively pass through our digestive tracts. Under certain conditions, they might actually accumulate inside our vital organs.
So what does this all actually mean for our health? I want to be super clear and objective here. There are no definitive causal diseases that have been confirmed yet in humans. But based on laboratory studies, researchers are closely monitoring a few potential mechanisms. First is inflammation. These foreign particles could trigger our immune systems, leading to chronic low-level inflammation. Second is endocrine disruption. Plastics carry chemical additives like BPA and phthalates, and those are known to mess with hormonal balance. And third, cardiovascular issues. Emerging hypotheses suggest microplastics might contribute to vascular inflammation or even interact with blood clot formation. Again, these are potential mechanisms mapped out in labs, not yet definitively confirmed human diseases. But the signals, they absolutely warrant serious attention.
Which brings us to section 4, what science doesn't know, the remaining major gaps.
Look, despite the shocking headlines you might see popping up on your feed, the scientific gaps right now are major. Currently, we simply do not know what the safe exposure thresholds are. Long-term accumulation inside the human body over a lifetime? Not well understood at all. The health outcomes of this exposure over several decades is completely uncharted territory. We don't even have a standardized global measurement system to test for these particles uniformly yet. So, while current science absolutely confirms we are exposed and carrying plastic, the definitive disease outcomes? Those are still a total mystery.
So the crucial point is, why are we so certain this exposure is going to continue? 400 million. That is the number of tons of plastic produced globally every single year. Let that sink in. And only a tiny, tiny fraction of that is effectively recycled. The rest, it just goes out into the world, breaks down, and creates a continuous, endless generation of microplastics. They're washing off our synthetic clothes, blowing through urban environments, settling into our soil and water. Microplastics are now an unavoidable, permanent part of the Earth's biogeochemical cycle. And because this pollutant doesn't biodegrade, it just fragments. That creates a continuous, rather than episodic, exposure for all of us. Listen how researchers are framing this. I'll read you a quote. Some researchers compare the situation to historical crises involving lead or asbestos, except on a much more global scale. It's a really striking analogy, right? Because unlike an old lead pipe you can just dig up and replace, or asbestos you can seal off and remove from a single building ceiling, plastic dust is literally everywhere. It is constantly shutting into our air and our food systems.
Finally, Section 5, reducing your daily exposure. Some actionable steps.
Okay, so complete avoidance is impossible, for sure, but you can absolutely lower your daily intake right now with some really practical everyday steps. First, use filtered tap water instead of drinking from plastic water bottles. Those bottles are known to shed particles directly into the liquid you drink. Also, never heat your food in plastic containers in the microwave. The heat accelerates the shedding of microplastics straight into your meal. Instead, just always prefer glass, stainless steel, or ceramic. You can also reduce how often you wash synthetic clothing to prevent those tiny fibers from breaking off in the wash. Oh, and improve your indoor ventilation. Getting a good air purifier clears out a lot of that airborne plastic dust. These are simple, highly effective actions that significantly cut down your personal exposure.
Now, on a macro level, global systems are actually waking up and responding. Scientists and policymakers are actively exploring broad bans on single-use plastics. We're seeing major investments poured into the development of truly biodegradable polymers. And engineers are hard at work on advanced wastewater filtration technologies designed specifically to capture microplastics before they even have a chance to enter our local ecosystems. The scalable solutions are still emerging, sure, but the momentum is undeniable. The discovery of microplastics in our blood has fundamentally shifted how we understand pollution. It is no longer just an environmental problem. It is a completely new frontier of human health. So, as we continue to study the long-term effects of this internalization of plastic, I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. As science races to catch up, are we looking at a manageable daily exposure or the defining global health challenge of the 21st century?